What's up? I am Ray, and today we are going to learn how to quit your job the spiritual way. Well, not exactly. We're going to learn how to stop wasting your life away at a job you hate and start living a life you love. Because you don't have to struggle, my friend. Let me tell you. You have been lied to. Lies. All lies. First things first, okay. If you sacrifice your dreams on the altar of practicality, you're screwed. You don't want to be sitting on your deathbed thinking, what could have been? Look, most people get screwed because they are living in survival. All they do is survive. They make money to survive. And that is slavery. You are a human being. You're meant for more than this. Think about it. At least when people were slaves, right? At least they were given a house to live in and some food. House and food. Of course, they didn't have freedom. Well, now we have to work for money and use that money to buy food and a house. A raw deal, my friends. So first things first, you gotta stop living like an animal. You gotta stop thinking like an animal. You are a human being. But, those who don't know their power have no power. And the price of ignorance is slavery and death. And if you think I'm being dramatic, look around you. Look at the world. Look at how many people struggle every single day. How many people live paycheck to paycheck, barely being able to make ends meet, while they print trillions of dollars out of thin air for no reason, just because they felt like it. And then one day you realize that all you do is work and sleep, but you're always tired and you never have any money. What is the deal here? Something is amiss. You see, energy is the force of creation. It is our creative power. You have energy, I have energy. The more energy you have, the more power you have. And, well, our mind is a tool that directs the flow of energy. He's got neck problems, probably from carrying all that energy. What we give our attention to, that is what we give power to. That is what we create. Where attention goes, energy flows. So the entire quality of the life that we create for ourselves is determined exactly by the quality of the things we focus our attention on. So the first step to becoming free, to taking your power back from a system that doesn't care about you, it will wash you up and throw you away. First thing is first. It's all about awareness. Because the problem is, we're creating our reality all the time, every day. We just don't understand how we're doing it. As Carl Jung said, unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. There are no coincidences. Life is a reflection of us. All the people around us are reflections of us. Every experience, in some form or another, we allow in, we attract. Now that can be a deep and controversial thing to say, but the moment we can take responsibility for our lives, then we have the power to change it. But if I say, well, no, my life sucks because I have to live in capitalism, because of money, because of the rich people, because of my boss, my family, they ruined my life, and here my life is now ruined. The absolute worst thing you can ever do is be a victim. Because so long as you're a victim, you cut yourself off from change, from the life you truly desire. So, step number 1, become aware of your thoughts. I like to say, if people only paid attention for one day to their thoughts and to the words that they speak, they would understand exactly why their life is the way it is. Because with our words, we create reality. Like the Buddha said, all that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. So, are you always ruminating on negative thoughts? Is the first thing you wake up in the morning, oh, I hate my job. Oh, another day. Unfortunately, I woke up again. My life sucks. I have to work at a job I hate. We have to understand, it's not what happens to us. It's how we react. As Eckhart Tolle said, the primary cause of our unhappiness is not what happens, but it is our thoughts about it, what happens. We have to come to the conclusion. We have to realize that it is our own thoughts that are making us miserable, not our experiences. And you have the power to change your thoughts. Because right now, you may not have the ability to change your experiences. It was Viktor Frankl who said something along the lines of, the last remaining human freedom is the ability to choose one's attitude in any situation. Viktor Frankl spent years in a Nazi concentration camp. And I bet you haven't spent years in a Nazi concentration camp. So if Viktor Frankl can do it, so can you. In other words, in order to change our life, we have to first change our mind. We have to change our attitude. We have to change our thoughts. Because if life is a reflection of us, life's not going to change until we change. Because life is being filtered through us. And so whatever information is in us, in our body, in our mind, that is going to get projected outward, and that is what we are going to experience. So if life is not what you want it to be, all you have to do is change a little bit. Please. Just change. Or if you'd like, you can watch me change. Sorry you had to see that. A simple way we create our reality is be, have, do, have. Or we could say be, behave, have. Who we are influences the way we act, and the way we act influences what we have. Simple. But most people get stuck on this side of the equation. This is the slave side. This is the free side. Why? Because most people, they think, okay, well, I want more. I want something different, so let me do more. So they stay stuck on a hamster wheel. I want more, so I do more. I want more, so I do more. But what happens is that if you be more, you automatically behave in the ways that allow you to have more. It's automatic. It's no effort. When you're vibing high, you naturally engage in high vibe activities, and so you have a high vibe reality. But if you're low vibe, it doesn't matter how hard you work. You will always return to the default, to who you are. That is why you see people, they work so hard, they slave away, and yet they have nothing. Nothing to show for it. Sorry, I got a notification. I gotta really turn my phone off. So see if you can see the mentality that gets people stuck. Living a life they don't want, working a job they hate. They say, okay, I need to have this. Let's say I need to meet my survival needs. Survival. I have to survive, obviously. So I have to work. I have to work to survive. And they ignore this side of the equation. So they work to survive, spend the money, work more, spend the money, work more, survive. And then 20 years go by. Where are we now? Nowhere. But see, the thing is, no matter what you do in this life, no matter what, whatever your job is, your relationships, everything, at the end of the day, you will always be the bottleneck to your experiences. Meaning that you will always be the limitation. For instance, it is because of you haven't figured out a way to live a rich life, to have it all. When we act in ways, if our relationships, for instance, don't work out, it is for no other reason than we behaved in ways that caused the relationship not to work out. And that is because of who we are. And even if it wasn't our fault that the relationship didn't work out, we still chose that person. And if we were operating from a higher awareness, we could have maybe seen that that person wasn't right for us. Or we could have maybe seen that, well, this is a dead-end job. This is not good for me. This isn't aligned with my soul's purpose. The point is that if instead of worrying about all of this, instead of worrying about what you have, instead of worrying about what you do, you focus one-pointedly on who you are, becoming high vibe. You go from 3-dimensional slavery to 4- and 5-dimensional freedom. You become the divine creator of your reality. Whereas most people, well, they're side characters to somebody else's movie. So be the main character, my friend. And you see, in fact, you may not believe this. It doesn't matter what's currently happening in your life. It doesn't. Because every single thing that happens to us in this life is exactly what we need for our highest spiritual growth. Now, the ego doesn't like that, nor can it accept it. But as you come to higher and higher awareness, you will see this to be true. If you begin looking for the evidence, you'll find it. What does this mean? It means spiritualize your life. See what I do, especially with the negative situations. This is where all the spiritual nutrients are found. In the dirt, in the poop. Suffering is the number one catalyst for spiritual growth. So the more you suffer, the better candidate you are. Because what we can do is we kind of go within. We stop focusing on the outer world so much. And we begin self-reflecting. So we kind of have to make the decision, okay, well, my life's not working out for me. Let's just assume that this crazy robe guy is right. And that I have what I have because of the way I've been acting. And I've been acting in this way because of who I am. And so let us instead focus on becoming the greatest version of ourselves. The moment we do this, it doesn't matter what happens to us. Because everything is an opportunity for growth. Especially the negative situations. But we have to enter into self-reflection. We have to see, what is this situation revealing about me? How can I use this situation for my growth instead of just wallowing in my own suffering? And so when you're in a job you hate, you look at that situation and you look at the coworkers that you hate and that you wish were just on the moon. You use that situation as a mirror to reflect upon yourself. In what ways am I allowing the negativity in? Because when you ruminate on the negative thoughts, you do nothing but poison yourself. So we don't realize that we're poisoning ourselves all the time with these negative thoughts, which are keeping us stuck low vibe. Don't want to be low vibe, man, or woman, or both. And we will see firsthand experience. We will become aware that we were the ones ruining our life the whole time. We've been playing ourselves. It has nothing to do with anything in the world, other people, the job, the system. The only prison in existence is our own mind, and it's made up of thoughts. And you are the jailer, which means that you can let yourself out anytime, my friend, if you simply stop sabotaging yourself by ruminating on all this negativity. Because at the end of the day, we can focus our mind, our energy in three ways. In ways that are negative, in ways that are positive, and in ways that are neutral. If you focus your mind on negativity, you create suffering. If you focus your mind in a way that's neutral, you create clarity. And if you focus your mind in a way that's positive, you rise to heaven. More love, more joy, more peace, more abundance. So the trick is, well, first we got to stop feeding this fire. Stop throwing gasoline on the negative situation. Because you can't be experiencing a negative situation and expect a positive outcome while ruminating on negative thoughts, while complaining about how crappy your life is. If you want to change the situation, you got to change your mind. You got to change the way you've been focusing your mind, your attention. The only way to solve a negative situation is to neutralize the negativity or transmute it into positivity. That's it. That's all we can do. And luckily, there's only a few options. So this option is obviously off the table, unless you want to keep living a worse life. So we got two options. We either learn to not react, become more aware, observe our feelings, observe our thoughts, or we seek how every situation is guiding us toward our highest spiritual growth. What I have found is that all the negative situations, they have the most to teach us. Because we're not learning anything when everything is good. Like I said, suffering is a very powerful motivating factor. And what you can do is that when you go into your job or any negative situation in your life, you go into it with a curious attitude. You embark on a journey of self-discovery. This is very important. Self-discovery. Because the more aware you become about yourself, the more power you develop to change your reality, because you will become more and more aware of all the ways you're already creating your reality. And if you're creating your reality in ways that you don't like, you can just say, no more. You give yourself a nice little slap. But if you are unconscious of how you're creating your reality, well, it's laboring. So instead of taking things so personal, being a slave to the ego, you look at every situation as, how can this help me be better? And the better you are, and the better you become, the more you can have naturally. And guess what? It's not so much about adding anything on, but it's about removing the things that are keeping us down. Not entertaining the negative thoughts, the resentment, the anger, the hatred. And the more we can let go of these negative things, the more free we become, and the greater life we can experience. I really enjoy the ideas of timelines. You might look up reality transurfing, but it goes a little something like this. Let me get more coffee. You start. I have returned. Stuck. Let us continue. Now, if you're a spiritual person, on the spiritual journey, in the spiritual community, let's just relax. Take a deep breath. You have probably heard the idea that everything is energy. And it is. But let's just accept that as truth. Have faith in me, for God's sake. If you don't have faith in me, just listen to Nikola Tesla. He said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, we can think of heaven as the highest frequency, and we can think of hell as the lowest. And so right now, we have an infinite potential. And so right now, there is a version of you living in a reality that is completely heaven. You're living your best life right here. Here you are. And there's a version of you living your lowest hell. Now this just exists as potential. But you are somewhere in the middle. Let's say this is the reality actualized right now in this moment. These different lines, you could call timelines. So every moment we are actualizing our potential. Sometimes we go up, sometimes we go down. For example, if you just dropped everything and started doing a whole bunch of cocaine, quickly you would find that your life would fall apart piece by piece and everything you loved would die. And you would find yourself in hell. And you have to work your way back up. It's a bug. And in the same way, if you just did all the right things, whatever that means, you could find yourself up in heaven, living your best life. But here you are. Let's go a little bit lower. You're down here. It's okay, I'll help you. Here you are living a job you hate. You're on the hateful job timeline. So if you want to live a better life, simply put, all we have to do is jump timelines. Imagine like a radio station. There are an infinite amount of different radio stations. Hell Radio is the radio station where all the songs are the songs you hate the most. And all the advertisements are for things you would never want. And Heaven Radio is all the songs you love. And the advertisements are for things you want right now. The songs and the advertisements on the radio station are your experiences in life. And so this is a simple framework we can use to begin living our best life. We just have to tune to the version of ourselves that is already living our best life. We tune into that potential. And we do this with two methods. Our mind or our thoughts tell us which station we want to tune to. So for instance, let's say this reality is infinite abundance. So you use your mind to tune into the frequency of infinite abundance. This helps you focus on what you want. And the clearer you are on the life that you want, the more accurate you can tune into that reality. And guess what? You're in luck. Because the more in hell you are, the more your life is suffering, the more you are very clear on what you don't want. And once you're clear on what you don't want, well, all it takes is one step to get clear on what you do want. What is the opposite of what you are currently experiencing? And so you could say one of the first steps is getting clear on the life you want to live. This is one of the reasons why people stay stuck forever. is because they're in survival. That's all they're focusing on. But they never really spend the time to get clear on what would be the life if I could live any life, if I could do anything, if money and time were no issue. What would be the life that I would live every single day? What would that look like? Because if you don't have something to aim for, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a dream, you're going to drift through life. You're not going nowhere. So this is like setting the GPS on where we want to go. And if you don't have a GPS, well, I guess not all who wander are lost. You can decide for yourself if that's cope. So you get clear. And the thing is, already within you, you were born with a vision. There is already a dream life waiting for you. You don't have to create it, you just have to discover it. So begin thinking, well, what kind of life do you want to live? And then our emotions are like the gravity that tunes to that specific frequency, that specific radio station. Like tuning the knob. So the mind points, the emotions drive. And that is how we're shifting on the sea of infinite potential to different timelines. And what you will find is that as you start raising in frequency, all the things in your life that are not aligned with your new frequency will fall away without any effort. So you don't have to think, oh, now I got to go look for a job. I got to go do this. I got to go do that. Everything becomes automatic because who you are influences how you act and what you have. Remember, don't focus on doing things and having things. Focus on being. Everything else takes care of itself. So as you begin doing high vibe practices, you'll find that you probably get fired. Or you just one day decide to leave. Freedom, relief. And a new job, a better one, will come into your life. A new opportunity. Because on these different timelines, there is a version of you already living a better life. Now the caveat is that, well, we can't change our emotions directly. Because if you could, well, you just feel good all the time. But you don't. And so we only have control over two things in this life. Our conscious thoughts and our conscious actions. Only through these two things can we indirectly affect our emotions. And if you can really focus on self-reflection, on becoming the greatest version of you, not on getting things or doing things in the world. You focus on you, my friend. You direct your thoughts and you direct your actions toward building the best you. The quicker you will transcend into better and better realities. Better and better versions of you. And this doesn't have to be so mystical, so philosophical. Because you know, the greater you become, the greater you act, and the greater you shall receive. Now this simplifies things a lot, because you only got to focus on two things. Conscious thoughts and conscious actions. Now there are a lot of things we can do, but the best bang for your buck is optimizing your morning routine, because that will build momentum for the day, either for you or against you. So if you wake up every morning dreading the day, then that negativity will compound throughout the day. If you ever notice that problems come in packs, they move in herds, because that is what it's like for negativity to spiral out of control. And at the same time, if you start the day off right, you can build positive momentum. And a good day turns into a good week. And a good week turns into a good month. And a good month turns into a good year. And before you know it, you're living the life of your dreams. Simply because you have focused on optimizing yourself in body, mind, and soul. So what I like to do is I like to sleep in the mornings. I meditate myself awake and I meditate myself asleep at night. And I will spend, let's just say 30 minutes repeating positive affirmations in my mind over and over and over again. Because in the early morning and before you go to bed, the portal to the unconscious is open in the theta brainwave state, which means that you can directly reprogram your unconscious mind and become the version of you that already has what you want. Just a quick detour to provide some context. There is an unconscious identity and there is a conscious identity. The conscious identity is who we believe we are, our personality. And the unconscious identity is who our body believes we are. Both of these contribute to being. And this is also the source of all self-sabotage. Because consciously, let's say you want to live in abundance, but your body feels that you are living in scarcity and lack. No matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you try, you will always revert to the default. So we have to reprogram our unconscious identity to align with our conscious identity. And our unconscious speaks the language of feelings, and our conscious speaks the language of patterns. And in the morning, and last thing before bed, that portal is open where we can directly reprogram our unconscious mind. And day by day, you will begin seeing great changes. So I repeat things like, what a beautiful day. What a great day. I love myself. Thank you. I love you. Whatever it is you want, now that we're clear on what we want, now we can cultivate the affirmations that reflect what we want. And you start the day off right. And because the mind can only focus on one thing at a time, when you consciously fill your mind with positive thoughts, the negative thoughts cannot build momentum. But if you do not consciously think positive thoughts, well, oftentimes negativity is just the default. So you stay in bed a little bit and consciously repeat positive affirmations. And what you can do next is take 10 deep breaths. Do some breath work. Just try it and see how good you feel. Alive in yourself in the morning. And then you want to hydrate because, well, you haven't drinking water in like 8 hours, so drink some water with electrolytes. And get some sunlight. Go for a walk. 10 minutes is all it takes. Sunlight, walk, hydrate. Some deep breathing. Positive affirmations. Do some stretches, why don't you? These simple things, they don't take more than a few minutes each. But you will be surprised at how big changes come from small things. And it's positive momentum. And bonus, if in the middle of the day you go and do some actual exercise, now you're really vibing high. You don't know how easy it is to change your life very quickly if you just begin living an intentional life. Because most people, they just wing it. They just drift. They don't know why life is happening the way it is. It's a mystery. But it doesn't have to be. Think about how easy this is. It's not like I'm asking you to go and run a marathon every day. Because what happens is that when you build positive momentum first thing, you're in a positive mood when you go into work. So the customer who yells at you at the checkout line, their negativity just rubs right off you. It doesn't do anything. But when you're in a negative state, you want to attack that person and strangle them and... Sorry. As it is said, objects in motion stay in motion. And objects at rest stay at rest. It's difficult to get out of a negative state when it's been snowballing out of control. And it's easy to stay in a positive state when it's been snowballing out of control. And guess what? As you start adding these things into your life, and you begin removing the default negative things, you become aware of your tendency to ruminate on negativity. You naturally begin engaging in better and better actions. It becomes easier. Think about it. If you haven't done any exercise for 3 years, it's really hard to get started. But if you go for a walk for 3 minutes, and then the next day, 3 minutes, after 2 weeks, oh, I'm going for a walk for 15 minutes. And then every day, another 15. And then before you know it, you're just naturally going for a jog for 30 minutes. And then now you're going to the gym. But it's really hard to go from a really negative place to suddenly a really positive one. Baby steps, my friend. One step at a time. And the process unfolds naturally. You cultivate yourself to become high vibe. Compound interest. And day by day, step by step, all the things you hate in life just begin fading away. Because you're no longer in tune with that energy. When light and darkness are put in the same place, what happens? The darkness reigns supreme. No, the light reigns. So you create a toxic environment for negativity. You have a bit of psychic hygiene, a bit of physical health. Because the mind, body, and soul are connected. So if you have an unhealthy body, you're going to have an unhealthy mind. And if you have an unhealthy mind, you're going to have an unhealthy soul. And so you can change your reality on any one of these levels. You can change it on the mind level by repeating positive affirmations, not allowing yourself to ruminate on negativity. Or you can change it on the physical level, which has some of the most profound effects. It's typically more difficult to think your way into positive action than it is to act your way into a positive state of mind. And just see for yourself. Small changes. Every day. Small changes. Before you know it, you'll begin shifting to higher timelines. But don't be surprised if your current reality begins falling apart, because the old has to fall away in order for the new to be born. So sometimes negative things will come. And then when you face those negative things, you have to ask yourself, well, do I want to perpetuate this negativity by ruminating on how negative I think this situation is? Or am I going to reframe my attitude to realize, oh, wait a minute. God is always looking out for me. The universe is on my side. Life is always taking care of me. And so if this thing is happening, it means that it must be happening for my highest spiritual growth. And it is. But until you begin looking for that evidence, you may not see it. It comes down to being able to transmute negativity into positivity. And when you can do this, nothing can ever disturb you. Because no matter what negative things happen, you will always come out on top. Because you've learned to manage dark energy. You've learned to transmute negativity into positivity. By reframing your attitude. And by using the suffering as motivation for your spiritual growth. When I was in a deeply negative state for years, it seemed like there was no escape. Like there was nothing I could do. And now that I'm in a positive state all the time, it's so obvious. It's so clear to me. But when you're living in darkness, nothing is clear. And this, you could say, is how I actually escaped the darkness. One step at a time, building momentum. So become the greatest version of you, my friend. Master you, and you shall master the universe. I am Ray. Visit my cool store. Much peace and many blessings. And remember, just be.